Oh, Jesus, should have took a shave. Doesn't look like anybody's joining us, so I'm gonna sit here with nobody at 0, and then we'll see who shows up. Must be 4th of July. So we'll do some introductions while we wait for everybody to show up. I know it's 4th of July, so I just want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. You know, it's been a long year, and today is the day that we can honor those that fought for our country. And you know, that's probably one of the greatest things we have as an American is our armed force. Helps us keep safe. So today's an opportunity. I know for a lot of you guys who have struggled through this pandemic, you know, in lieu of also being low income, and you're struggling with housing and Section 8 and low income housing. So this gives you an opportunity to get out here and ask questions from somebody that actually understands this. I don't really need that many introductions. Most of you know that I own Section8Consulting.com. I'm ranked #1 on Google and also YouTube. And I'm an expert in the area of what I do. I work with a lot of clients over the last 20 years, 6 of which I've been on the YouTube. So, hey, Jazzy, how are you? Now, guys, if you're not familiar, and like I said, with phones, I'm not sure, but you should have a chat window where you can ask questions there if you like, and you can chat with me. I'll try to address things more in this video. The last video that I made, it was a very long 1 hour, hour and a half conversation of me talking about many different things. And most of you do know that occasionally I use profanities. It's a fantastic way to express the true magnitude and the desperation of the situation for a lot of folks that may be evicted or without a home. You know, I can't think of a better way to communicate that message across every, you know, community in America. So it looks like we got 7 people, so we'll just kick it off real quick. So as I said, happy 4th of July. Now, before I start the video, most of you know that I love cats, and I have about 21 of them. So today we're going to see if I can summon one of them with the cat treats, and because a lot of you guys ask about that. So we got the good stuff, and I'm thinking Big Pops, my 35-pound cat. Now, look, before some of you go crazy, he is a Maine Coon, which means he's designed to be that big, okay? I don't actually mistreat my cats, intentionally make them fat, okay? So we'll see who we get. Pops. Come on. Any takers? Well, looks like we're not going to be that successful, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of them showed up in the middle of videos. They usually do. So, guys, let's get talking about this. Now, I know a lot of you have questions, so feel free to ask anything you'd like, and I'll try to address that. And if you hear me talk about a specific person, oh, we got a winner. So, y'all may know this one as Cupcake. He was thrown out of a car window into a street or a ditch by some owners that thought he was a toy, and to dispose of him like a, you know, like a piece of dollar store trash. I spent over $1,000 trying to save his life. It was quite heartbreaking, but he came back stronger than ever. And I can relate. I think a lot of you can relate to what it means to go through so much struggle with housing. When you're on your last thread, you can't pay rent, you can't work. A lot of things aren't working right, and you're struggling in housing. So you know, in many respects, how it feels just like that cat right there. To be tossed out like a piece of trash and nobody really give a shit. So, you know, I'm here because I do care, and I'm trying to help people. So, well, let's take a look here. Totally Trina, happy 4th to you. Looks like one comment was held. Please don't use profanities in the comment, in the chat. Even though I use it lots in the video, they seem to have a problem with it in the chat. So I don't know why. We'll see if it'll let me show it. Oh, it wasn't nothing major. Okay. So anyway, so if you have questions or comments about Section 8 housing, low-income housing, we can go ahead and talk about that. As y'all may know, the president, the current one, has issued 70,000 emergency housing choice vouchers, and there's an allocation of a certain number between 25 to several hundred, depending on your city. Now, as I've preached for many years, these things are like mythical unicorns. You've been hearing about them for years, and they didn't exist. Now they kind of exist. you have to get in touch with the housing authority. But here's the problem that we have. Housing authorities don't answer their phones anymore. They don't open their door. And when you do contact them, you get somebody that's just ignorant, talking to you like a $2 trick. That is a big problem with hiring low-rent people to run housing authorities that act like fucking lunatics. That's a big issue around this country. And a lot of people have experienced it. Matter of fact, if I'm wrong about that, and you guys called down there and they've invited you over for some lemonade and some prayers and wish the very finest to you, please let me know, okay? That way I could recommend you for psychiatric help, because no housing authority operates that way. Those people rarely give a shit. Hey, Jazzy. So I got a question here, and this is from Jasmine. So how do you get around them? Well, to be frank with you, one way that I've learned is I target specific employees. If I can get them on the phone, or one of the other tactics I use is I'll try to create a summons, and then I'll send it certified mail to them to summon a response, and it gets sent over to in-house legal. And then once I kind of beat and trap them, then I'll try to put them on three-way, and unbeknownst to the regional HUD office, I'll have one of their employees, a federal employee, on the phone. And then you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get their ass. I'm going to target them. I'm going to light them up a little bit. And then I'm going to wait for them to violate a federal law by phone, federal regulation. So that way they can be moved to immediate termination. And then the supervisor of the housing authority can lie through their crystal clear teeth that they just didn't know what was going on. Why was that? I just don't understand why the employees would act in that way. Were you trained an asshole? Did you expect something different? Were you expecting your fairy godmother to answer the phone and cooperate? This is a big problem. And that's why I talk so much trash about housing authorities and the employees that work there. Make no mistake, there are people that are good-hearted and have the right interest in mind, but most of them, and this comes from 20 years of experience across all 50 states, okay? I didn't dream this up. This comes directly from the people that I talk to every day. Over 10,000. I think that my track record speaks enough. I think I have enough evidence. I don't need a Harvard study to figure out these people are usually not that great. So beyond all that, these housing choice vouchers are being issued. So in order to get them, the best opportunity you're going to have, you have to send over a certified letter explaining your situation. One of the tactics they're currently using, obviously, is not answering the door, not answering the phone, or they tell you, hey, man, it's a 7-year waiting list, and then you hang up. That in principle is the idea that they're trying to convey is, hey, why don't you just give up? It's not even worth your time. Don't ever fall for that. When they instruct you to call back a month later, don't fall for that either. When they tell you, oh, yeah, I've got it. I'm on the computer right now entering your details. No, they're not. Okay? I've had a lot of clients have been bamboozled, sitting there for years, thinking they're on a waiting list, when in fact these people have taken out no information. It's quite a hustle. As long as you're not in that system and there's no proof or evidence that you ever did that other than some conversation, then there's really no record that you ever applied. A lot of you guys are going to housing authority websites. They're asking for name, number, and address. That is not an application. And you fill that out and you think you're on a waiting list. You're not. That's file 13. They rarely ever contact you behind that. So when they don't want to respond to the housing authority, then we do an open request to the regional or DC office. We file official complaints. And there's other tactics that can be involved in that, which may include bigotry, racism, and other issues. And then I light their ass up when they have to respond. And then I intensify. It's kind of like I start out like a rainstorm and then I become a hurricane. The reason I intensify things rather than back off, so when they get friendly, rather than go, okay, well, this is going to work out. No, I don't do that. I intensify the situation. So I'm making myself crystal clear to them. You're going to issue a voucher with this client one way or another. And because I'm going to make your life, this whole housing authority, I'm going to make your life so miserable, you're going to wish or hope that I would just go away. But I'm not. So back to that question of these emergency housing vouchers. You know, a lot of these things, man, they get paid $450 and up to $2,500 per one of these they issue. It would be a lot easier for housing authority employees to give them away to the birds, the bees, the neighbors, the friends, their family, and political constituents. Trust me, they're not powering up the computer to see about some old senior. Okay. Usually these vouchers are likely to end up in the wrong hands and with people that honestly don't even need it. Just talked with a lady today. A lot of people were on a waiting list in New Jersey. Well, it turns out that one of the ladies that already had a voucher, she simply was really good friends with the housing authority employee specifically. And within days, she was able to convince the housing authority employee to issue her daughter one. Well, everybody else, and in fact, had been waiting 9 years. Do you understand the game that is being played out here? Now, if I'm lying, please Google that, and you'll see that there's nothing but good news about housing authorities. They're absolutely handing these suckers out like they're lotto tickets. They're not, okay? So it's a tough situation we're all trying to deal with. And then it's confounded by the fact that, you know, there's not enough housing, there's not enough funding, and we've been woefully underfunded now for over a decade. And you add in a pandemic with no jobs, no opportunity, and then other racial issues we have in this nation also confound the problem intensely. And then, you know, now we've got about 40 million, somewhere between the upper 9 million to 40 million people due for eviction in about 30 days. And I got to tell you, the intensity that I have seen with bookings for consulting has gone up to 600%. Through the last 48 hours, I've booked a week. That's highly unusual for me, okay? I only do these consults about 3 or 4 a day, and I only do it a limited number of days. This is not a full-time job for me. I do it consistently to help when I can. So I got to tell you, it's a tough market out there, especially if you're in one of the big cities. So let's take a look at some of these questions over here and see whether or not, and I've caught myself looking down again. I need to look at the camera. I'm bad about that, guys. I apologize. So let's take a look. So Jasmine asks, how do you get around getting, okay, so we already answered that. How am I going to send a verification letter explaining my situation? Well, you would need what I would suggest there is, you know, the obvious signature and signature confirmation for them, and then we fill out a dry application. And in there, it would be more like a letter, because you're entitled to send a letter. And most people don't realize this, but you can't solicit a housing authority by giving them a letter. And so you know what I'm going to do. I'd say I would detail any disability, any domestic violence. I would detail being extremely low income. I would basically hit all those red buttons that would force them in a position. Now they've been served with it. Now they have an option. How do you ignore something you just signed for? How do you ignore the fact that they've now been made accountable? If they don't just give a response within 35 days, then I pretty much can hang them out to dry from a tree. It's how that goes. I mean that with all the best intentions, but seriously, you cannot simply ignore certified mail. So there are some other avenues we can take with it. Now, once they don't do that, then I can start specifically targeting specific employees depending on the type of job they have with the housing authority. Now, again, I want to communicate one thing to you guys. Housing authorities are not all the same. There are some in this country that operate professionally and great, and there are a lot that do not. There are hundreds of them that have already been sued in the last year or two. So there's no confusion about corruption, okay? That is absolutely a part of this deal. So is friends and family and, you know, buying your way into the system. And I'm not suggesting that I sell vouchers. I consult based on the information that I have. And so if you guys are wondering, where the hell do I get my information? It's not from Google, my friends. The United States government allocates money to HUD. HUD hires contractors, okay, to write the manuals. Legislators write the laws that go down to children that go to, you know, college. They're not children, they're grown people, but okay, they write these twisted little laws, and then they hand them back to these senators. And then, of course, there's political motivations to how these the rules of these vouchers. Then it's handed over to companies like Nan and McKay, which actually work with the housing authority and write out their manuals. You know exactly where I'm getting these. So it's like this. If I have the keys to the casino, do you think I'm going to rob it or not? So I figured out a long time ago how to get everything the housing authority has. In addition to that, I have people that work for housing authorities, you know, and they don't like their job and everything, and they pretty much just give me everything. So it's very easy to surmise the information I have. I also get director's reports before a lot of times I use agencies to do. So I get field director reports directly from HUD. And then it details pretty much outlines what's going to be legally happening upcoming. So that's how I do stay ahead of the curve. So you're wondering, is that illegal? No, it's not. I'm very careful about what I do and the type of information I obtain, and I do that legally. I do it by open public request, or I will do a court summons to get it, and we'll deal directly with in-house counsel to get it, okay? Let's just say I play a really good game at what I need to. When I also need to, I'll consult with an attorney to ensure that I have not impeded on any federal, state, or county law. So I legally get it. So let's just say that I'm smart enough to do what very few can't, or not even understand. So, Gale Resources, you know what, Gale? So this is another client of mine that's been around for a while. Awesome. So it's been a while. Where have you been? I would think everybody is home from the pandemic at this point. So it looks like tonight we're mainly going to have just members that are normal people that hang out on the channel. Looks like a lot of people popping in and out. So now moving on from there, we were talking about these emergency Section 8 vouchers and whether I can get them. So signature confirmation with a detailed history, and to see whether or not they respond to that. If not, then we can file a case with district or the primary HUD office, and that's usually how we remedy that. Another avenue that I've spoke widely about is usually continuum of care in their program and obtaining a voucher and all in that way. It's a bit of a process. Their manuals are usually around 60 to 80 pages. They have a summary test in there, and it's a scoring system. It's not quite an algorithm, but it's all run through a system called HIMS, and I have the manual HIMS, so I know the target things that have to be said on the actual assessment. And of course, if you understand how the algorithm works, then you know how you're going to score. And the old saying goes is, if you have both the questions and the answers, then how the hell did you fail them? So that system's rather easy to manipulate if you have everything. I'm not suggesting anybody do that, but however, tough times, you do what the hell you got to do. So beyond that, man, I tell you what, people are popping in and out this channel like my hair's on fire. I don't know what's going on tonight. I guess people are just curious about this. So now, any of you guys that are 55 and older, we can talk about subsidized housing. That's a great time to do subsidized because those are some of those apartments and homes. It's a great opportunity right now to beat the system and get some housing. Gales Resources, laughing inside today. Very hot, but always want to learn more, Jay. And Victoria is laughing out loud. So, well, if you guys don't know that, we got a hell of a thunderstorm right here in Texas today, and you know what? It's flooding our street outside, and but that's not stopping people from popping fireworks. We can't pay rent. We don't have a job. We got stimulus checks. We're popping them fuckers in the air right now. That's what those people doing next door. It's interesting that people can't pay rent, but they can afford 4 cases of beer and $400 of fireworks. So when they're on the sidewalk, they don't need to call me about it. I'm not going to help them. I'm going to suggest that they call 211 and talk to one of those rodeo clowns, because if you're that stupid that you're going to actually blow your money when you can't pay rent, then nobody really can help that. You can't fix stupid at all. So, but I do understand why people would want to pop fireworks, but I just, looking at the particular person that's doing it next door, I just don't get that at all. So you guys are not asking any questions. So I hope we're not going to have another Monday night where I come here to talk about Section 8 consulting and housing and low-income housing, and nobody's got anything to say. It's very disappointing. Well, I guess not. So we're down to 8 viewers because there's not a lot to talk about. All right, well, we were talking the last video specifically about what's going to happen in the month. We already know that there's a lot of people that, millions that are fixing to lose their home, and I can already see that by the number of consults that people have booked with me. And so it's a true race right now for a lot of people to not lose everything and also end up on the sidewalk. I have a lot of calls about people that are due out at the end of the month. Most of the landlords are waiting. And at the stroke of midnight, at the end of July, we will see a mass exodus of about 10 to 20, maybe 30 million people. And then I guess the only choice we have as a nation at this point is if the president gets involved and stops these evictions. But I've got whole entire families. I've got a batch of extremely old people. I've got people in wheelchairs. I've got disabled children on oxygen machines, all of which will be on the sidewalk with no money, no place to go, no shelters open, and even if they could take them, they're only at half capacity. So that the child in the wheelchair on the oxygen would need to roll his chair into the woods. Okay, roll it into the woods, and come back Tuesday to get a bed ticket. Okay, that's the kind of shit we're dealing with right now. Same thing with the elderly. Put out in the home, on the street, sidewalk, everything that that lady has owned for the last 69 years of her life has now all been stolen. She's standing there with nowhere to go, no money. And so what do? These are the situations I deal with every day. And, today was an especially difficult day because I had to hear more of these stories and trying to figure out new ways to help. At the same time, I had a lady drop into my channel today. I had to put her fucking ass out of my channel because of the shit she said. I not only do I deal with that, okay, but I got people come in here. Everybody in Section 8 is just trash. Not only that, but she used a bunch of racist expletives. Now, this country trash, or whether it's city trash, I don't care. I will not tolerate it on my channel, okay? Homelessness affects everybody. It doesn't give a damn where you came from, what you look like. And it's becoming troubling to me that we're going through a very difficult time. And you have some people that really would have the nerve to come into the channel and say things like that. Thankfully, I was able to get rid of her quickly. She probably had a loose screw, but unfortunately, once you violate me that way in this channel, I'm not going to keep you here. So anyway, let's take a look at some of these questions. Yep, hanging inside today. And then Jasmine says, laughing out loud, Gail Resources. Oh, I have questions. Well, Gail, you better get to asking. I just want to get my apartment in voucher. I have a list of apartments that accept vouchers, but they are 3 to 9 months waiting list. Do you have a complete and accurate list from the United States government, Jazzy? What sources are you using? I know that we've probably consulted at least once. I would recommend you not use HUD's list. It's usually pretty bad with all this. HUD has got an excellent list. When you actually get near getting a voucher or you get a voucher, HUD has a tendency to give a list. It's usually the worst landlord you've ever seen. I never recommend clients actually taking the list that your local housing authority is attempting to give you. These are the trashiest landlords you'll ever deal with. You've got a better chance with a Craigslist than you do with what the housing authority give you. Look, guys, use a federal database in order to get your landlords, clean landlords. If you've got problems with if you've got a felony, you've got drug problems you're struggling with, that's not going to stop you from getting housing unless it's specific things, like you've had issues where you were messing with children, or you had issues where you were selling a great deal of narcotics, okay? And that becomes serious, especially let's just say that if you were dealing with meth, they won't fool with you, okay? So meth and being a dealer, and also issues dealing with the sexual nature. I have to be careful what I say on YouTube. They don't like me to talk extensively about some of these things. Looks like we got a few more questions. I'm going to address those. Mr. Miles, thank you for the 4th of July. Yeah, you happy 4th of July to you too. Jazzy, I called them around. So Jazzy says, I called around in the apartment and I would be interested. Okay. The problem with subsidized, I think, is you're really waiting for people to die almost. If a building's full and they say there's a waiting list, they don't just mean that. They mean that people have been living in an apartment complex 48 years and they may not be leaving anytime soon. You really want to get clear answers about that, Jazzy. And stay away from properties that are senior properties, because for sure you're waiting for somebody to expire. I mean, the ambulance to pull up. People rarely move out of those properties. So you want to go to apply at properties that are less than 55, okay? So you don't wait an eternity. Gina Charles, I am looking in Atlanta, and everyone is saying that they don't take Section 8. Well, sometimes we end up with this type of responses from landlords because you could potentially be looking in the wrong places, okay? Now, I know that seems probably infeasible in your mind, but I deal with Atlanta, DeKalb, a lot. What you need to be doing is we got to get you a real list of landlords. a lot of you guys are looking on Realtor.com and crazy places where low-income landlords are not going to be. There are a lot of inconspicuous places that voucher hold landlords that accept vouchers actually advertise, and there are places a lot of times you guys don't think about. One of the absolute best resources to find a landlord, no matter if you're a felon or whatever it may be, or just desperate, Facebook Marketplace has a place for landlords, and it is the #1 thing that I've ever seen. Those landlords there usually take a lot of them take vouchers. I've had more success with that than anything. Now, if you have a Facebook account to have access to Facebook Marketplace, you typically have to have a Facebook account for a couple of years, okay? Because a lot of people sell things on there, unfortunately, and they try to scam and all that. But on the real estate end of Facebook Marketplace is really good. I do not recommend Craigslist whatsoever. And guys, look, if anybody's asking you for first, last deposits and a money order, you decline. You are only willing to pay by credit card. If they try to meet you at a big fancy building, you walk in with them. Never let them leave you in the parking lot. Okay, I've had several clients been taken for thousands, some over 5, one lady 15,000. Okay, they can walk through a pretty building, walk right up the back end with your money order. Do not do that. There are people who don't care, and they're hard to find. Once they've got that money, even if you cut them a check, before you realize what's happened, they'll make a beeline to a bank. They'll cash it at your bank. It's a done deal. There's no reversing it if they take it directly to your bank. They're not going to wait and cash it in their own checking account and incriminate themselves. They'll take it right to your bank. So look, guys, if they don't accept credit cards, fuck them. Don't do business. If they don't have an office with a computer, don't do business with them. Now, I understand that some of them are small landlords, but look, you need to do your research before you ever give paperwork. You know, it's pretty easy to do a title search to see whether or not they own the property. There's a lot of people out here just taking advantage. Look, if people are willing to jack up toilet paper during a pandemic, imagine what they'll do with an apartment. So I'm just cautioning you guys. Some of you older people, y'all tend to trust. You give everybody the benefit of trust. Younger people tend to be less, don't trust anybody until you give them a reason. You see the difference between age? Younger people have already been scammed, so they get it. Older people tend to trust you first, and then they wait till they get burned, and it upsets me that they're so trusting. Either that or they don't care. But, so anyways, I'm sitting here rambling on about that. Happy 4th of July, Paul. Thank you, man. I'm spending my 4th of July with you all, okay? Doesn't that say something? Yeah, I must be lonely? No, I'm kidding. Just me and the cats today. Gina, how are you? How's it been going? How do you get on a list? Well, that's like asking me what Section 8 is. That'd be a long video, wouldn't it? How do you get on a list? Well, it depends on what list you're talking about. So narrow down your question as to, or are you trying to get what state, what county are you in? Are you trying to apply to housing authority, COC? Try to be more specific about what list you're talking about. That'll help me out, please. Gale Resources says, why do you feel FBMP use, Facebook Marketplace used to be more than Craigslist? Well, I don't trust Craigslist, period. I don't, okay? So more bads come out of it than good. And Craigslist is on a decline anyways. Craigslist used to be a great resource, and then it started, since they've been charging outrageous amounts for every little thing in Craigslist, it's just not what it used to be at all. Now, Facebook Marketplace, you got some 1.6 billion people that use it. It's a big deal. And Facebook, in my opinion, is also on a decline. The newness of it's gone away. So, but I don't know why, but every time I've ever had big landlords, when I'm helping them manage 200 units, we market on Facebook Marketplace. And within an hour, we have 100 applicants. In reverse, when you're looking for an apartment, you have the hundreds of options. And so I believe it is hands down the best option. When you start going down these lists, on Google, one thing that I tell you guys, a lot of these .com, .org websites, these are owned by people in Russia and China. They're fake websites. A lot of them want you to fill out what they call a universal application. What that is what you're doing is you're filling out your car loan for them. And then while you're sleeping, they're going to go and use your credit to buy something. Today, I was doing a search for New Jersey. And here's an interesting fact. The first 8 results were scam websites, and the 8th, the actual real housing authority, was ranked number 8. Guys, you're playing with the devil with Google, and that a lot of this is the number way. This is the easiest way for a scammer to get your information. Is just create a fake website, and they use .com, .us, .net, all of it. So you have to be careful who the hell you're giving information to on a website. They can clone them exactly as well. So I always say go to city government, pull up the housing authority from your local city, county office website. If you don't know where to go, then I can give you a federal database and you can search it that way. But just be careful, guys, because y'all are giving away your private details. Gina Charles. Now, how do I get on the list for landlords that rent out Section 8? Okay, there's no such a list for that. I know what you're saying. So you want to know, is there a universal list where everybody gets on it and then all the landlords look at the list and they pull you? No such list exists. There's a list of landlords and it's your job to contact all the landlords. It works in reverse of what you're suggesting. So yeah, sorry about that. There's no list where a bunch of landlords are going to be dying to give you a call. That's never going to happen. Sorry. KD Bead, the bead stylist. It sounds interesting. I'm going to have to ask you what that is, Katie, that you're making. Any insights on Biden's new infrastructure bill, which is supposedly has billions for building? Yeah, there's a lot to that, actually. I made a video a little bit about that. So we do know that Mr. Biden, or President Biden, has an infrastructure bill. Inside of that, he's tucked in certain subsections to that, which includes the allocation. I think how much was it? 400. It was about 500 billion over a 10-year period to build renewable housing for Section 8 clients. But really, what it spells out is more incentives for landlords to allocate a number of units from each building. I think the infrastructure bill is good. To be frank with you, we've been sitting on this, not wanting to do it for so long. Our highways are in trouble. I think that if we don't get Biden to push this through, so we can get this money. Let me tell you something you guys don't see, that you don't understand and see about Section 8 housing and low-income housing. In 2000, we had a stockpile of millions of homes and landlords participating. By 2016, 93% of all the housing and landlords vanished. They no longer want to deal with Section 8. In 2000, we had the maximum level of assistance for people that needed a voucher. And now at 2021, only 4% is what we're giving into this. Our budget is 1/20th of what it used to be. So under the last administration, it was cut an additional 33%. Woefully underfunded for 2 decades. So we're at a reckoning. And so the reckoning is this. We ran across the one thing that could actually make this whole situation explosive. A pandemic, no jobs, no landlords, people losing their mortgage. Now we've created the perfect storm for what's going to be a housing collapse, essentially. Now, before you go and become frantic about that, I'm not saying the housing market is in a bubble or going to collapse. I'm just saying that with 20 to 40 million people freshly being evicted in about a month, what we're going to see is a devastating wave of people with nowhere to go, shelters with no capacity to take them, and every federal dollar that's been pushed out since the pandemic will evaporate overnight. And a lot of you guys are thinking, you know what? This is sensationalism. I must be working for Fox News or possibly CNN or one of the other agencies. Okay, I'm not. I'm just telling you. After doing this 20 years, I'm well read on this. Okay, I don't get my information from news stations. I can tell you when this wave of people that become homeless, there's no place to go, and we're going to see this play out starting at the end of the month, and it's going to intensify like a hurricane. Okay, or a blizzard for those of you up north. It's going to intensify all the way through Christmas, and I believe that the United States government is going to have to step in. We simply cannot have 10% of the population hit the streets. The problem is already extremely severe. How do I know this? I've had a 5,000% jump in my channel. I went from getting, and the reason is, it's not because I'm popular. Trust me, I'm not beautiful. I'm not a very good actor. I don't put on makeup, and I certainly I don't do very good acting. Okay, I call I don't sugarcoat shit. So some people can't handle that. They just, but if you want a real person, that's what you're gonna get with me. But anyways, let's so that's where we stand with this. So what's gonna happen? Well, I'm getting hammered, and I'm gonna get hammered probably all the way till next January about this. And right now it's pretty bad for a lot of people, and I'm using every trick in the book. So thankfully, I've had 20 years to think about this perfect scenario. I'm deploying every fucking trick in the book at this point to help clients. Everything. I mean, if it comes down to us actually threatening, suing, whatever it takes to compel the housing authority to give you a voucher, I don't care if we have to beat on the windows. Okay, I'm using every tactic in the book. But so far, at some point between now and Christmas, the situation will de-evolve enough where the situation will end up neutralizing everything I can do. In other words, the situation's drawing so far out of control with the housing crisis and people getting vouchers that even my very best, and I'm one of the best in the nation, if not the best at this, that I will no longer probably be that effective against what's happening. I hope, because, I can't do anything if nobody's going to give y'all anything. And so, like I said, I'm using every tactic I can to help you guys. I'm going to take a look at some of these comments. We have more people here now. For those of you that's just joined, if you have questions, please be very specific. Ask them in the chat window, whether you're on a phone or a computer. I'll do my best to answer. Please don't ask questions that are open-ended like, well, what is Section 8? That's, I'm not going to talk for 30 minutes. If you don't know what that is, or if you ask me, how do you apply for Section 8? That's a ridiculous question. You call the housing authority and you apply, okay? Don't ask crazy questions, please. So we'll take a look at these questions real quick. Happy 4th of July, guys, for those of you that just joined us. So we got a bunch of retracted messages. Perfect storm is right. Homelessness is already at inhumane proportions. The real is the deal. Yes, it is. So, so yeah, we're going to watch this play out. And for those naysayers and tire kickers and non-believers or whatever it may be, you'll see what I mean, okay? It'll be all over national news. It's already anticipated. I know they're already talking about it in Congress. They're talking on the Hill. And we already know how this is going to play out. It's going to require the government intervene. There's no way we can accept that. And for those of you that don't understand, there are 100 million renters in the country. We already statistically have gotten it from the White House and from Congress. We already know what's at jeopardy is 40%. 40%. That's 40 million can technically be evicted right now. Okay? That's how serious it is. This is not guessing. This is not a survey. This is not a poll. This is the United States government checking to see how many people in every surrounding county could potentially be evicted at the end of the month. That represents 40 million people. A small survey lot of 17 cities produced 50,000 evictions, waiting, sitting there. Okay? So at the stroke of midnight, just like Cinderella, you know what I'm saying? The pumpkin's not going to be the pumpkin. It's going to reverse into how shit used to be, and a lot of people are going to get put out. They don't have money for storage and have nowhere to go, and the situation will be fairly dire. Here's the interesting thing I want to communicate to you. It's not going to be the low-income people that are going to be suffering from this. Interestingly enough, if you really think about this, low-income people have already survived. You know what? They're probably the best people in the middle of a nuclear war. Low-income people know how to survive on nothing. They're tough. They can survive just about anything. They don't give up, and they don't take shit from most people. That's the experience I've had with most people that don't make a great deal of income and had to live on the fringe of life for whatever reason. The people, this wave of people that are coming are formerly, and notice I say formerly, middle-class people that lost their jobs, and now they've been pampered by life. They've never experienced life like a lot of my low-income seniors, my low-income young adults, and others that have been in the system and lived through this shit. You guys are already ready for war. So I'm not so much worried about you. It's the middle class, this big portion of them that are now going to be entering a different twilight zone, which is going to be, they're going to get a taste of what it's like to have nothing and no options. And so that's what's so interesting about what's playing out. It's not actually my low-income clients that I have a lot to worry about. I'm still working with low-income people, but most of them already have their housing squared away. The tidal wave of people I'm dealing with have never known a day's misery with this stuff. They don't even, if you'd have talked to them a year ago, they'd have said everybody in Section 8 was trash. This week, they're wanting a consult. They don't have another choice. I'm not suggesting that everybody that comes to me was formerly middle class and said disparaging things about low-income people, but I'm just saying that a lot of people that have never asked for any help, that never thought they would, today's the day. Trust me. I'm talking to a lot of people that have never asked for a handout in their life. It kills their pride to do it. But what choice do you have? Most of you have children. A lot of you take care of the elderly, and without a place to live, to take care of your children, and you're old and you're disabled. I got a lot of parents with disabled children. What are they supposed to do? So they only can do what they can, and that is fight the best they can to secure housing by any means necessary. I've got Christians, man, that have called me and said, look, I love Jesus, but if I've got to lie for 20 minutes on an application, I will. I understand, we have to, in principle, have to do what we have to do, just like we would in a time of war. You're going to have to suspend your high pride and your high morals and just do what you need to do before this shit gets really bad. That's what I was preaching about the other day. And it's going to seem like I was preaching again today, but when the end of the month comes around, y'all can all come back and damn, you were right. You were way more right than we even thought. And so I'm just telling you, it doesn't take a crystal ball to see what's going to happen in the month. So now if we get an extension, I think that's great, but it's only extenuating the devastation. But yes, we have a huge, massive number of people. All these evictions once served. There's not enough housing for these people. Not even near it. There's not enough federal funds. We're out of that 40 million. I think we probably would only be able to deal with possibly 50,000. So, and right now the situation in Los Angeles has reached 200,000. That's without an eviction. 200,000. Let's do a quick check of homeless shelters. Maximum capacity is 4,600. 50,000 evictions. Do you think the city of Los Angeles has $20 million sitting in the bank on the second day next month? No. Where do you think these people are going to go? Give me some advice. It's really free, okay? If you don't do something about your situation before we start reaching into the next month and the following, there won't be anything for me to help you with. It will be that bad. I'm going to have to, a lot of you guys, I'm having to mail out of state. You're having to pack your shit, pack your children, pack your pets, and I'm having to send you guys over to the Midwest and other states where it has not turned into a dizzying mess yet. Otherwise, the housing authority tells you one unique thing. Oh, well, there's a 25-year waiting list. What they mean to say is you're never going to get housing, and they're not being dishonest about those 15-year lists. What they mean to say is you have no chance in hell of ever getting a voucher between now and 2099. Okay, for those of you who are trying to apply in places like Los Angeles, check back in around 100 years. There's no way we could even come close to housing 200,000 people for free. Where the fuck would the money come from? Where would that come from? You're talking about 200,000. New York, its maximum line was 10,000. You see my point? 10,000 was extremely difficult to house. 200,000 is off the chart. That's that's a taste. It is a sample of what we're going to see play out in different places of the country. If I'm wrong and it ends up being more, then congratulations, but it won't be less. So beyond all that preaching there, look, guys, it is what it is. And I've spoke to y'all extensively about this, and I don't need to imagine, dream it up, or anything like that. I have in principle been the owner of Section 8 Consulting for quite a while. I've consulted with easily, if I rounded up every landlord I talked to and the value of each property that each landlord owned, that means I would have helped manage over about $170 million in property. In addition to that, a 20-year history of reading over 1 million pages, data manuals, operations, and all that in lieu of that, having the top website for Section 8 Consulting, having the top YouTube channel. So even if you thought I was lying through my teeth, the reality is what I'm telling you is absolutely the truth. You should take it seriously. If you don't, that's fine. You got people that are anti-vax. Why not be anti-Section 8? That's going to be rough if you need it. Imagine that. So, so what can we actually do between now and then? Well, the first thing you need to do is you're going to have to put up your best game with this. All right. So we already A year ago, before the pandemic hit, I helped. The reason my job even became what it is, and I even got involved in this, is because at one point 40 years ago, when people went to the housing authority, you had an honest chance of getting housing. It was designed to work that way. Over time, this has become convoluted. It's become rigged. Now it's a game. Now it's unfair. And then it became just damn near almost criminal. We no longer give people vouchers for the right reason. You have housing authority employees that are acting in a criminal manner. You have people that are working in those buildings that are prejudiced, racist, and other issues. Okay, I wish that was the biggest issue, and I'm not saying that I really wish that, but I wish that was actually the biggest issue. It's not. Corruption is the biggest thing. Giving these vouchers for the wrong reasons to friends and family and other bullshit is a big problem. In some states, we have generational scams going on. That's where we keep handing down vouchers to sisters and brothers-in-law. So you effectively tie up the whole fucking voucher system for the entire state of New York doing that. New Jersey, New York, that scam's been running now for 30 years. When HUD finally connects all that to a federal database, there's going to be a shitload of families that are going to be sitting in the federal pen for that. At no time should somebody sit there and bequeath the voucher. This is not a fucking inheritance. You should get the voucher in principle because you need it. It is a privilege, okay? It is not an inheritance. You don't go and hand shit down like that. But right now, it's too big to control it. But when they do connect this federally, nothing will give me more pleasure than to watch all these people that have scammed the system put on a chain like a dog, off on the prison bus and off to prison. Because I've watched so many old, young, and disabled suffer while I watch little fucking assholes sit in these apartments that have no disability, no problems whatsoever. They're just doing it because they think they're clever. It is the most shameful fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it tells me that you have no fucking moral center. And to be honest with you, I think that we should reward them with the very thing they wanted the most: free housing. A fucking free prison cell compliments of the United States government. We'll even throw in a metal bed and 3 meals. And we'll see you when you're done with 85% of that time. That kind of trash needs to go. I've got people that are rotting in homeless shelters while I've got healthy individuals running the game. I cannot stand shit like that, to be frank with you. It wires me to no end. It is one of the one things out of all the things I do to help you guys, between manuals, fighting landlords, fighting with housing authorities. These are the type of people I can't touch. Why? Because they've already scammed their way in there. They're not playing by the rules. You see, that's the thing. I play by rules, and it only works for people that are willing to cooperate with federal rules. So when somebody's scamming the system, that's usually where the big loophole is for me. It's hard to deal with a scammer. So I have to, really what I need to start doing is just work with federal investigators to have these people charged, the district attorney's office, as soon as I find out about the situation. But unfortunately, I'm not exposed to that many of them. I only really hear about the stories. They don't actually, scammers, people that do this stuff don't really reach out to me much, but I just think it's terrible. And then you look at the situation we're in now. We need to go door to door, start putting them out. And just tell them, hey, you know what? Look, hey, man, you scam for 10 years this unit. So what we're going to do, we're going to liquidate all your shit. We're going to give you a check for 1 penny. I'm going to drop your ass off at the Greyhound with no ticket and wish you good luck. We're going to need your shoes, your socks, your clothes. You may have 1 pair of underwear or panty. That is it. And then when you get back on your feet in another 10 years, we're going to have to garnish your wages. You will receive exactly $1 a week. Okay? You can pick up your orange and an apple and a glass of water, and good fucking luck to you. That's pretty extreme, but in my mind, what I've watched families suffer with children that need medication and being on breathing machines and I'm barely hanging on by life, and you got a little shithead scamming the system. That's how I feel about it. If you object, then hey, you know what? Get out my channel. Go find somewhere else to hang out. You don't have to listen to me. So, but yes, it does tighten me up when I hear that. Let's take a look and see what's going on here. So in the comment section, perfect storm. True, we need Section 8 spies. We do. We really need better policing for Section 8. We need more ethical people. We need to pay housing authority people better. We need to get people that go through real certifications, not pay $1,000 to earn what I would consider to be a little piece of paper out of a bubblegum machine. So they get what they call a housing specialist certificate for $1,000. Sometimes they get it cheaper. And to be frank with you, I've got children that are 9 and 10 years old that could easily be a housing specialist. Okay, if that's an honorary degree to say that you've achieved something special in life, it's just like going when you go to a award ceremony for kids in soccer or football, and you got to give a kid an award for no reason. That's what that is to me. It's a fucking joke. Okay. If you don't want to be work at a housing authority and actually do some good, then don't go work there. Nobody wants you there. It's just like having a bad nurse in a hospital. You're only compounding the problem. But we've got a lot of people that do work at housing authorities, and they're alone in what they do. They're like angels. They do so much for people. There's just not enough of those good people there, man. I have a letter saying that, so I'm going to answer a comment here. I have a letter saying my name was selected for Section 8 and to finish my certification, which has been pending for 2 months. They told me they sent out 500 letters. How long? Okay, first of all, so you know, under certification process, when they actually send out the letter, congratulations, that means you're going to get the voucher. But also, you should know bureaucracy and red tape. They usually take anywhere from 30 to 90 days. So I would say that you're close. The issue at hand is you likely would have, if not for the pandemic and not that most housing authority employees are working from home, you likely would have had that voucher much sooner. And so we see how this is compounded. Look, everything's running slow. Hell, you even get the mail slower these days. So, but to help you, and I don't know why they don't tell people that, but around 90 days is how long it takes to. Because one of the main thing is, when you do get called about a voucher, they have to reevaluate your whole life again. Because a lot of times what you said 10 years ago when you applied, they call you about a voucher, hey, then they have to recertify all that stuff. By then, you could have had a better job, life changed, your children have grown up, and so then you're no longer, it's applicable to get that voucher. So they're probably checking things as fast or as quickly as they can. And if your life has not changed that much since then, the reward will be the voucher, obviously. So 90 days would be what I would bank on, possibly slightly longer. Gale Resources, oh my God, I had no clue that existed. So they buy their way in. Now, Gale, I know you've got to be fucking with me. Look, yeah, people buy their way in. You better believe they do. There's all kinds of things that go on in order for people to get housing vouchers. There's all kinds of things. I don't suggest any of you go out there and try to figure out what they are, because it always ends badly. There's an honest way to get vouchers, okay? You don't need to go out and scam and other things. I'm not suggesting Gail was telling me that in that comment window, but if you don't know what you're doing, what it really comes. Let me just be truly, absolutely frank, and you'll know me to be this way. If you don't know what you're doing, and you haven't read all these manuals, you don't understand what federal regulation is, you don't understand what Title 24 is, if you haven't read tens of thousands of pages of legislation, House bills, the continuing changes or amendments to a current law for vouchers and housing authorities, then hire a fucking consultant. You sitting on a YouTube channel watching 400 videos trying to piece all this shit together and not be on the street by next month, is it really worth your time? Yeah, that's what I tell people. Why, I'm sitting here talking for an hour. 200 videos later, 6 years later, simplest thing. Most of you guys spend more money on beer and cigarettes in a single week than y'all would ever afford to hire me for 20 minutes. That's crazy. Out of over 10,000 people I've dealt with, I would say easily about 90% of them I've been able to get housing for. Sometimes that number's gotten low. Yes, I do fail. I fail all the time. My failure rate's sometimes between around 11% and has been as low as 3%. It does change every month. I do make mistakes. I'm human. At least I don't go out here, get on YouTube and act like I know every fucking little thing and that I don't make any mistakes. I'm infallible, and I'm going to need to double charge you for my advice or my consulting. Everything I've ever told y'all in principle in these videos is enough to actually help you almost get a voucher. I've never withheld manuals. I have published links to nearly every manual. I just did it the other day. I gave you a 475-page manual that was enough to make the people at the housing authority roll in their fucking grave. if they'd known that you had it, because then that would have allowed you to compete directly with them. How do you win a contest when you've already won the contest? You see what I'm saying? So I think I've given y'all so many tools over the years and so many talks to help you through it. And I find about 20% of you drop out, not a failure. You drop out because, oh, well, fuck it, I don't want to do it. It's just too much work. A month later, you're calling me, hey, man, I'm at the shelter. I'm about to stand on the bridge tonight. Didn't I just tell you, partner, not to do that? So you got a couple of options, people. You can sit there and do a little bit. You can do a lot. Or you can wait till the end of the month when they put you out. Or you can wait another 2 months to wait and find out what your landlord's going to do. Well, by the time we hit August, November up in there, if you come back to me at that point and you can't get housing, there's nobody to blame but yourself, okay? So I'm warning. I warned y'all all back in 2020 about this. I warned y'all at the beginning of the year. Y'all booked me so many times between January and March. I was working 80, 90-hour days, 7 days a week. I had to take 2 weeks off because I was actually at a point of pure exhaustion. Did it again, and we're reaching a point with the number of consults that I'm getting on a daily basis. It will far exceed my ability to actually stay up. In other words, there is more people needing consults than there are hours in the day. That's in addition to a lot of things that I research for you guys on a state, city, and federal level to ensure your cases are successful that I don't even charge you for. I'm doing this stuff late at night, getting up 3, 4 in the morning to do it. So I'm having 18-hour days. And in 2 days, I've watched more consults get booked in the last 48 hours than I have in any single 1 point for 2 week stretch anytime this year. And it's intensifying every minute now. By tomorrow, we will be booked out about 2 weeks. You think, oh, well, shit, that must be nice. You know, you're getting paid, $45 for a 20-minute consult. You're probably rolling in cash. No, I'm not. I only do 4 of them a day. That's it. Okay? This is not a job for me. I take no. Who the hell would have such a loose screw to make a job out of listening to people cry on the phone that are ready to take their own life because they've lost everything, that tell you that their children are going to have to live on the street? So either you're a fucking psychopath or you're honestly here because you want to help people. So yeah, I'd say that my intentions have been very clear as far as what I do for people and why I'm here. So another wild tear, but it has to be said, doesn't it? So guys, I talked about earlier in the video about COC housing. It is an option for those of you that need to get housing quickly. If you cannot get housing in a specific area or a specific city, town, or village, then there's no other option then for me to move you to another county or another state. It is non-negotiable. If there is not housing, then I will leave you standing on the sidewalk. It is by your own choice that you remain there as stubborn. Okay? Because pretty soon, the only places around this nation at the end of the year, there's not going to be many programs left by January. So I don't know. I do know, but I don't know how better to say it to you guys. So let's take a look at a few comments up here and see what we got. And then I'm going to start wrapping this up. We're at 58 minutes. Sadly, I've seen about 40 people come and go. I wish more people could hear what I have to say. Only because I'd rather not see them in tears and have to go live on the street. A lot of you guys don't, it's not going to be me. But you know what? You're $8,000 behind on rent. You don't have $200 to pay storage every month. And in about 60 days, you'll have lost everything but the shirt on your back. And even that will be gone. And a lot of you guys just don't take this stuff seriously. And you call me, I had a guy call me, hey, man, I've lost my home. I'm living in a hotel. I have my last $10. I need help. No, man, you're a fucking idiot. You should have called me the minute you got evicted. But nope, you sat there like a delusional asshole. You got put out your house. You lost all your shit. Now you made the second stupidest mistake you can make. Let's take all the remaining money you have and let's burn it at the hotel where the cost of staying in a hotel room is $100, $150. Rather than this guy go and stay in a boarding house for $15 a day, burn up the cash, but then let's wait till we only have $10 left and then make it my fucking problem. You see where I might have a problem with that? So that doesn't come down to stupidity. It comes down to I'm just an ignorant person. I'm just being willful. Let me make it your problem now. So I'll help people, but I won't help you when you do shit like that. That is just absolutely out of the ballpark. So, anyways, take a look at a few comments, and we're going to shut this up for the day. Hey, I got to run and get my eBay listings up. Gail's Resource. Hey, Gail, I need to talk to you about that eBay. I just opened the store, and I've got about 40,000 in inventory, and I've been working through it. So might consult with you about that. Jasmine, what are the best states to get housing? Right now, everybody's pulling into the Midwest. That's the only remaining free territory left out there. The upper East Coast, the upper West Coast, the South, they're all kind of crumbling under the pressure. Small states, basically. Gail's Resource, have a great weekend. Reach out to you for help. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to close this up. I really just started the video for people that be able to ask questions and things. Looks like I've got more people doing voyeurism, just watching and not talking than anything. I'm fine with that. But look, guys, if you need help, I posted at the top of the comment section there. You can book a consult. We can work on your case, get it done. The burden of evidence or proof that you would require from me, you can find it on my website. You can find it on my YouTube channel. My reputation speaks loudly. I wouldn't judge me too hardly on how I talk because I won't change that. But I'm still very good at what I do, despite my use of language. So, all right, guys, I'm going to wish you all a happy 4th of July, and I'm going to go feed the cats. So, good night.